Welcome back to This Is Live, the Sunday talk show here on the Arise News channel. With me, I now have Professor David Aworawo, Professor of International Relations and Strategic Studies at the University of Lagos. Yemi Adamolekun is also here, Executive Director in Office Enough, as well as Jide Ologun, a legal practitioner and national development advocate. Well, thank you very much for joining me this weekend. Well, very quickly, we've had 4 guests on this program. First, Dr. Uju Agomo and Dr. Ike Ezeugo, who commented on the submission of the report of the committee that was set up by the Minister of Interior, Minister Olugun Ojo, looking into issues of abuses, injustice, misconduct within the Nigerian Correctional Service. And that committee has submitted its first piece of report dealing with the fact about Idris Okuneye, popularly known as Bobrisky, having stayed outside the correctional facility. They said that, no, he was in prison for the period of 6 months, but he enjoyed special privileges in violation of the Enabling Correctional Act of 2019. They also looked into the case of Abdurrahman Mena Jr. at the Kuje Correctional Center, where they said he was transferring money to a certain deputy controller of correctional services, and they thought that was in violation of the law. Why would the deputy controller be collecting money from an inmate? They talked about the minors who were paraded in a court and who collapsed over the weekend. Now, the Attorney General of the Federation is saying that maybe charges will be withdrawn against those young persons, some of them not older than 13, being accused of treason for having participated in the End Bad Governance protest. And then, of course, they talked briefly about, the Federal High Court decision with regard to federal allocation to Rivers State. All of this tied to the crisis in that state. Then we had 2 other guests on international subjects. Professor Jide Adibe and also Ambassador Jibrin Chinade, both of them commenting on the emergence of the British-Nigerian, Nigerian-British Kemi Badenoch as a leader of the Conservative Party, the forthcoming elections on November 5 in the United States between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, and then latest developments in Botswana, where in 58 years, the opposition party has taken power from the dominant ruling party. Let me start with you, Professor Aworawo.
So many issues to comment on, so many issues, but I will just say a few things about the correctional service thing. Well, is there an allegation that Bobrisky, whether she was in prison or she was not in prison?
She or he?
She, as...
he said it was a he.
Oh, okay, yeah. When he faced the court, he said it was a he. So let's use he, even though she carries on as if she's a she. Anyway, all that has been found is consistent with how Nigeria functions. Everybody uses whatever fees he has to try to make money for himself, which is one of the reasons why we are where we are. The police will do it, the VIO will do it, virtually everybody, except just a few who try to carry out their assignments professionally. As for the young people who were brought to court on Friday, the comments that have been made in the aftermath of the ordeals of these young people makes us feel that they are probably more wicked Nigerians than we think. I saw the police spokesperson at Dejobi also saying, oh, they are over 13. Even if they were 50, those sites you saw, shouldn't that evoke empathy? They were busy, debating whether they are 13 or over 13 or whatever. Just look at how Bobrisky was when he came out of prison. And look at how these ones looked on Friday. Oh, that they were pretending to faint. That sight that you saw, anyone who saw those people and it didn't evoke empathy, should examine himself, you know. And they say, oh, they were charged for terrorism, for treason, for, you know, all sorts of things. That they were waving Russian flags. All those people, all those boys that they saw in the prison. Do they even know what Russia is or where Russia is? I'm even surprised that they have kept these boys for this time, and they have not been able to identify those who sponsor them. Because these boys, if you give 500 naira, give them flag, they will be eager to wave flag without knowing what it meant or whatever it is. So I hope, anyway, the government is moving towards what we expect. Treat them well and, you know, drop charges against them. That is what we expect. But we need to show more empathy to one another. All that debate, all that apologia that many government officials were trying to make the police correctional, I mean, it simply portrays us as people whose humanity has disappeared. We should go beyond defending the institution, defending government. We should just be real as humans. And for Rivers, well, it appears as if in Rivers things will go worse before they get better, because each one is still holding tenaciously to his position. But we have to have a country first, we have to have a state first, before people can now begin to say, I control this, I'm powerful here, I'm powerful there. And that should be the overriding position on the Rivers State issue. Each one is using what he has to, you know, try to outdo the other in Rivers. And it is not neat. If the governor had been left to just do his job, all of these, topsy-turvy that Rivers has experienced won't be there. But some people are somewhere else, they want to control somewhere, everybody wants to be a godfather, and we can see the consequence. We hope they will tread cautiously, such that we don't have a huge crisis coming from Rivers. Then Ambassador Chinade, yeah, he was right. He's right in his positions on Kemi Badenoch, that she has a whole lot, you know, on her hands. One, she needs to reunite the Conservative Party, and then two, she will need to, you know how to confront the Labour Party, who are in the majority, and then position herself such that if the Labour Party falters, she will be Prime Minister. But I have a few words for our sister. One, that it is good to be bold and vocal. It's a virtue, but it is not a virtue to speak when one should not. She speaks a lot, and sometimes it's not everything you know that you say in public, especially if you're in the political space. And as a woman, banana peel is there. So she needs to be extremely careful, just focus on the job and do it. If she focuses on the job without, focus on the job with perceptiveness, she will do well. Some of the things she has said, I didn't expect her to be saying things like that, but I hope she will, now that she's the leader of the party, she would do better in the way she will conduct herself as the leader of the party. Well, last week we spoke about the Commonwealth, and we even forgot to even congratulate our sister, Shelley Bochwe, who became, who will take over soon as the Commonwealth Secretary General. That's another woman doing well, an African. Kemi Bochwe, and then again about immigration. She doesn't need to be people migrate for different reasons. There are people who face all sorts of things where they are coming from. Where the world is moving towards is to be accommodating of them. You can be Prime Minister and go, what will you be remembered for? People who are against the weak, they are not those who will be remembered positively. It doesn't matter what position they occupy. So I don't know how she has arrived at her extreme, right position where immigrants are not seen, are not welcome. I will hope also that she will shift ground. And sometimes when people of color take office, to please whites, they tend to do to the extreme against people of color. We have one Nigerian too in Italy who won election only because he is vehemently opposed to immigrants and immigration. She will need to shift ground a bit so that after all of this, she will be remembered positively moving forward. But I congratulate her for her doggedness and how she has arrived at where she is. Finally, Botswana. Boko has won. From the experiences of movements like this across Africa in the past decade, I'm not too excited, but I'm happy that there will be a smooth transition from the Botswana Democratic Party to the umbrella for democratic that smooth transition that we expect to take place, I'm happy about it. But as for performance, my hopes are not too high, because what are we seeing in Senegal? What are we seeing in Nigeria post-2015? What are we seeing in Kenya? So,
hello, Fokambale.
Yeah, Fokambale for what? So I'm not too excited, but I'm happy that at least there will be a smooth transition. There won't be a crisis, as we have experienced all too often across Africa. But I wish Boko well as well. I hope he focuses on the job and does well and improves a lot of Botswanans, and at the end of the day, justify the confidence that the people have reposed by electing him, dislodging the Botswana Democratic Party, who has been there for 6 decades. So I congratulate both Kemi and also congratulate Boko on their emergence in the two countries, the United Kingdom for Kemi and Botswana for Boko.
Mr. Ologun, your take.
Thank you very much. Let me take it from Botswana. Fortunately for...
By the way, you are wearing a bow tie.
I made that promise last week. So that's why I walked the talk. So, Botswana is very rich in diamond, and they have huge tourism potential for generating wealth. And one thing that interested me in the twist of political events there is that they started experiencing unemployment and some difficulties in the economy. And the people are saying, okay, let's try new hands. And that is why I align with Professor Aworawo's position that the new leadership should be very careful not to queue on the side of the typical African leader that will make so much promise and not fulfill the promises. Because Botswana, as an African nation, had been doing very well from inception. So we wish them the best. And linking it with Kemi Badenoch, another congratulations there. She's the first black woman, like they say, who is taking the lead of a prominent political party in the UK. And don't forget that, the Conservatives recently lost out under Rishi Sunak, and it's time to realign now and engage business. And according to her, it's a time of first principles and getting down to restructuring the political architecture to ensure victory for that party. And one thing I appreciate about the UK politics is that the people know what they need, and it's in line with development. And I will always also advise politicians, like we were taught in the law school, that you keep your gunpowder dry. If there is one temptation politicians are exposed to, it's about talking too much. So we wish her the best. We are proud of her as a Nigerian Briton, and in politics also. And talking about Bobrisky and correctional facilities we have in the country, what I know clearly is that Section 15, subsection 5 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended states clearly that the state shall abolish corrupt practices and abuse of office. So, and for those who were excited when they read that story, I wasn't excited. If you are familiar with the way we run our system in the country, you will not be amazed that such a thing happened. What shocked some people is that it came to the surface. And the big question is, what will the government do to restructure this system to be more effective? Because some of the revelations have prompted some allegations that should be thoroughly investigated. I've said it, in the criminal ecosystem, you need 3 strong pillars. You need thorough investigation, diligent prosecution before a committed judiciary. And talking about Rivers State and the political impasse going on there, I wish them the best. But if you rewind to year 2004, it was a season when Chief Olusegun Obasanjo was the president, and he withheld allocations to Lagos State because Lagos State created 37 additional LCDAs. And I must commend the ingenuity of the then governor, who is now the president, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And he generated revenue to sustain these LCDAs before the matter went all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court reversed the decision of the president, even though he did not implement the reversal. It was Musa Yar'Adua, when he became president, that made that payment to Lagos State. So it's a challenging time in Rivers State now. I just want to appeal to the politicians in Rivers State that please think of the people, because whether you like it or not, the adage remains that when two elephants clash, the grass, they suffer. And I hope that the political bigwigs in that sector of our national life will be able to mobilize to carry out, because I see more of politics playing out there. And what we need now in Nigeria is clear, good governance. And talking about the minors that were granted 10 million naira bill, I expected that the Attorney General of the Federation and the paraphernalia of office available to him would have done a thorough profiling of those people who were arrested. It's quite embarrassing to the state, and I hope steps will be taken. You know, those who are considered minor have been granted bail in the sum of 10 million naira, which I also consider huge, you know, and a surety of at least a civil servant, because like we heard during that, the comments, that even foreign countries are monitoring us on all this. And one of the comments is that even our present president himself was an agitator, and he should still be one. So protest does not in any way automatically become treason. But here we are right now, finding it difficult to, you know, solve on the pedestal of the rule of law. So I hope that the government will look strictly into this and see how a less punitive and excruciating attention will be given to, restructuring these young ones who sometimes act out of excitement and focus.
Excitement?
Yeah.
We
call it useful.
No, they were
youthful excitement.
No,
what I meant, the issue of parading Russian flags and things like that.
Do they know what they are? But let's be clear, and I'm very
That's what I mean by excitement.
It's not youthful exuberance that we should land them in jail or be prosecuted as 14-year-olds.
I'm not addressing the issue of landing in jail. I'm addressing the psychology.
And I'm saying the actions that they took.
Yes.
It's not, we cannot liken it to any youthful exuberance. They were protesting that they were hungry. It was under the End Bad Governance protest. The young boys were protesting that they were hungry. If someone, and we can't prove that they were carrying Russian flags, but for the sake of argument, someone gave them a Russian flag, they don't know the beginning of them, they carried it.
That is the excitement I was referring to.
The excitement
in psychology,
okay.
There's a way you handle youthful exuberance.
And
it's
I'm saying
easier
not youthful exuberance,
to mobilize them at that age,
they were
whether ignorantly or otherwise. And where I was focusing on is that the government should go beyond these young ones and target the sponsors. And I monitor that particular experience, and I heard that some sponsors were identified. But we are still asking till now that even the 400 sponsors of Boko Haram or more that the state declared they have identified, what have we done to them? So that the channel of justice can be properly focused. And that is the point I'm making. And that's why I started from the angle of profiling. Sometimes those that the law should focus on are left walking freely. Like I still keep asking, who are the oil thieves in this country that citizens are paying so much through their noses for their evil against the state? So that's the point I meant, and I hope I've been able to persuade you and not to.
I'm just very clear that we should focus on the issues as they are. We have minors. Their charge sheets clearly talks about their ages: 14, 15, 16, 17. First of all, for the Attorney General of the Federal Republic to say that he was not aware, it's quite remiss of him in his role as the Attorney General of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, number one. Number two, you're charging minors in an adult court for being on the streets protesting that they were hungry, and the charge sheet does include for carrying placards in an attempt for regime change. These young boys are being in prison for over 60 days, not arraigned in court. You now arraign them in court, in an open court for that matter, and give them, as you rightly said, 10 million naira bail. Meanwhile, the member of the National Assembly that was picked up for assaulting someone got 500,000 naira on his bail. And so we need to be clear about the issues. At this point, whatever got them to this point, let's even leave that. But how do you are now treating minors in our justice system? Number one, and that ties again, I mean, I guess this whole segment could be about Nigeria's judiciary, and this includes lawyers. So this is a lawyer acting for the federal government, prosecuting these young boys. And when interviewed afterwards, said, oh, the young boys were men and some of them were married. The contradiction in that statement is mind-boggling. Then you have a judge who sits there watching clearly minors in the court and not saying anything about, these boys should not be in my courtroom. They should be charged in the juvenile system, in the juvenile court, if there is indeed a case against them. You tie that to Bobrisky. Bobrisky will not be the first, neither will he be the last person who is sentenced to jail and pays his way through getting privileges. Again, the system. It's the same way we penalized him for spraying money, and we're not penalizing people at CBN or the banks who make brand new notes available. You will find it at every party, at least I can speak for Lagos. But if you go into the bank and you say you're looking for new notes, they'll tell you they don't have. We still haven't solved that problem. And then lastly, Rivers. As has been said, what do the people in Rivers have to do with Wike and Fubara fighting? As they say, when two elephants fight, it's the grass that suffers. And tying to the point that you made, Lagos, all the way to the Supreme Court, has shown that you cannot withhold federal funds. Now, again, part of the challenge of our judicial system, a judge, fully knowing that there's a Supreme Court judgment, decides he wants to sit in court for whatever reason or whichever alignment, and decides he wants to stop allocation of funds to the people that gets passed through those who are in office. And we really need to be clear that plus lawyers, plus the people on the bench, if they are not talking to themselves, and unfortunately, citizens don't have the opportunity to vote them in and out, but they will start seeing repercussions when citizens start really taking them up personally in public spaces, because the ridiculousness of our lawyers and members of the bench really needs to be called out. Now, let's talk to a bit more cheery news. Leaving Nigeria, it's interesting. It's international news that's a bit more cheery. And I'll start with Kemi. Kemi is someone I do know, and so congratulations to her. And as both gentlemen have said, some of her comments have been a bit disconcerting. The comment in particular, and it's very interesting because she's an immigrant to England, and I think Professor Aworawo made the point. And so sometimes the way the words come out or the ways that it's framed, I hope as leader of the party and also the support that she'll get in terms of a comms team and policy reviewers and all of that would help her well. And she's not only the first black woman, she's also the first black person, period, to head any of the two major parties in England. So congratulations to her. And thank you for reminding us, Professor Aworawo, about Shirley's appointment too as the Secretary General of the Commonwealth. So we'll be seeing a bit of color on the national stage in the years to come. And the US elections, very interesting, and I'll leave it at that. Well, actually a bit of color as well as part of the challenge. You have a female who are also black or partially black, and Asian as well. Hillary suffered from being female. These ones now have female plus color levels added to her challenge. And also just Americans digging in along what it is that they think it's important. The role of women strongly coming across and the rollback in women's rights to their bodies and right to make decisions. And also the violent kind of streak in Donald Trump's comments. So for me, I'm just really looking forward to how this vote helps the world see what is important to Americans, the ones that choose to turn up. And then lastly, the best news of the afternoon, Boko's election. Excited because he's trained, a human rights lawyer, someone from my space, a lecturer. I'm a child of lecturers, so an affinity in that regard as well. But also the
University campus product.
But also the hope that he sells, that good can't win in elections on the continent. This is his third time trying. He was clear that he wasn't going to run for parliament, that this president is where I'm going. And I listened to a speech he gave. I don't think it was his acceptance speech, but something he gave recently. And he talked about the fact that he's excited to have an engaged citizenry and said that an engaged citizenry sometimes come out angry, sometimes come out as another word he used that I forget, but that he welcomes that, because if the objective is to improve the lives of people, he's ready to engage. And I really wish him all the best, because in a lot of ways, he can show what is possible on the continent when an elected president actually cares about the welfare of his people. Congratulations.
Okay, before we move on to the next subject, can we have a mock vote, you know, on the American election, which is in 2 days' time?
Votes are private.
So let's start with you, Yemi. Kamala Harris or Trump?
Either one of them will win.
No, like, you are not going to vote anyway.
It's okay.
So which one do you?
And which one will I vote? Oh, you're asking us to vote?
Yes.
Oh, hands down, Kamala Harris. I'm so sorry. Hands down, Kamala Harris. Trump is scary.
Oh,
Trump
okay.
is scary not just for America, it's scary for the world.
Mr. Ologun, Trump or Kamala Harris?
You know, the general votes and the electoral college will decide. But from,
Choose one.
From
We are saying
predictions,
vote.
I think Kamala is preparing to break the ice glass, ceiling glass.
Okay, Professor Aworawo.
Well, first, let me even comment on what Professor Jide said. Although everybody is saying the one that wins a popular vote will not win the electoral. I don't believe
that's routine.
Yes. I think the person that will win the popular vote will win the electoral college.
And who would that be in your name?
In my, well, I don't have a vote. No, just wait. I don't have a vote. But I want to speak from the point of view of values. Trump does not share my values.
Yeah.
Even though I don't have a vote, it's obvious. Trump does, a man who denigrates people, who is racist, does not share my values. So there's no way I will wish him to win.
Okay.
Yes.
We'll be here next Sunday.
Yes.
I will see who won,
Yes.
who lost. Thank you. Let's take one more
I will
topic
party.
before we call it a day. The Federal Capital Territory Police Command has commenced investigation in the case of an alleged assault involving a member of the House of Representatives, Alex Ikweche. Ikweche, who represents Badenoch and South Federal Constituency in Abia State, was alleged to have assaulted an e-hailing driver, Stephen Abuwaseya. A video that has since gone viral shows the lawmaker slapping the driver when he requested for his delivery fee and querying if the driver knew who he was. The lawmaker also threatened to make the driver disappear without facing any consequences. In a statement released by the FCT Police Command spokesman, Josephine Ade, investigation has since commenced into the matter. Meanwhile, the lawmaker reportedly apologized for his action, but he has been arraigned also in court. Yemi Adamolekun, this is right down your alley. Do you know who I am? Syndrome.
There's a video going around now, I think South Africa. A man arrives at the counter, wants to buy a ticket. The fighter's left. He puts down a business class ticket and tells the lady, "Do you know who I am?" And the lady apologizes, says, "I'm so sorry, sir, I didn't realize." Now the guy is feeling very pumped up, like, "Hey, now you know who I am." And then she gets on the intercom. "Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, there's a gentleman right here who doesn't know who he is. If you can please help him identify himself, please come forward." And there's a very Nigerian problem. Do you know who I am? And people get away with it. There's camera is why we see this, and it'll be very interesting to see how the court acts. But I must commend APGA as a party. One of the first statements I saw on this issue was APGA issuing a statement stating that Mr. Alex doesn't represent their values, and they plan to take it up as a political party. We don't see many of that, and we should commend when people do the right thing. I was very surprised, but very worthy, very noteworthy.
Mr. Logan.
Thank you. I align with that, but I also want to address the system we have. And the big question is, if this happened in Australia, what course will it take? Because at the end of the day, it may be that apologies are taken, but the prima facie facts have been left aside. And that is what you call reinforcement theory in industrial psychology. How do we prevent those who may have this tendency from embarking on this emotional ventilation? And of course, for those in authority, and that was an issue we took in Sunday school today, you need this divine resistance for the temptation to amplify yourself, because God says he will resist the proud. And of course, if the office is for service, I think there is a serious call for being cautious. when you occupy that office so that the citizens you are expected to serve don't feel intimidated. We just have an isolated case in that. Whatever, even when some of these leaders move on the highway, you know, I had a situation on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway when I came down, and this man with his convoy ordered that a driver be beaten up. It was my wife that was telling me it's not your case. I said, why won't it be my case? It's bad enough that you are using your siren to intimidate. You are not saying this driver should be beaten up. So, and let's know that it's only God that will not leave office. I appreciate how it's been handled, the apology and everything. But my question this day is that when will the law have its way so that we can have that as precedent to caution others who may come up? So I hope the matter is not swept under carpet. And like you made a reference earlier, it's been granted 500,000 naira bill. And here we have the minors who are granted 10 million naira bill. So I think our system needs to really reflect justice. Lord Heward said justice should not only be done, but clearly seen to have been done.
I like that point. Well, Professor
Alex Ikweche, he has apologized. So air is human, to forgive is divine. But if you follow the comments he made very carefully, that man should not smell anywhere near political office. The comments reflect who he is. I mean, apart from the slap, the comments, the condescending disposition, that man should, but Nigerian electorates too we have a lot to be blamed for.
That the man should be recalled?
Not recalled. Well, let the court finish, but it should not come near there the next time.
By his party.
The comments, if you go through the comments, you see they just reflect who he is. Very arrogant, condescending, has no regard for, sees everybody else as shit. No. I don't know how these people come up and they are elected into office, but he will be forgiven for what he has done. He has apologized and all that, but I think he should be voted out. I think the party should not sponsor him the next one. It's as simple as that. But I'm sure they've negotiated.
If he's so strong in the party, they could feature him again,
feed
him again.
Let's see how far they go.
So maybe you should be talking to the people in his constituency.
The people in his constituency should be embarrassed by what he has done. Because, you know the comment he made? He said, if you like, call the IG. People like you disappear. I mean, the comments reflect who he is. And it's really unfortunate that we have this kind of character holding public office.
Well, but he's a big man. Do you know who I am?
Big man. What is big man? We have left an era of big and small. Yes.
Okay.
But it's left for the people of
how much you bought fuel today. If I ask you now, you will complain about the pump price of fuel.
They should go and do business and make money. Why are they all coming to politics?
Doctor, during the COVID-19, I thought the issue of pride would have been knocked off from the lives of many. But coming out of that COVID-19, it's like some reversed back to that life. But sincerely speaking, being humble preserves lives, because you know, it's quite interesting that he did it to a man who acted as helpless. It could have been different if we attempted that with some of these Boko Haram spirited human beings. You know, maybe we'll not even be reading about somebody apologizing by now. So it's a two-way traffic. Nobody is a monopolist of violence, and that is a lesson that should be learned. I've said it in Lagos sometimes. A mere argument or you hit my car leads to death, because the person you are trying to show, do you know who I am, may come out, bring a jack and hit your head. And we've read cases like that. So I think we should all realize that it's a privilege to enjoy some, you know, enhanced opportunities. You know, God loves all souls, and it should drive the way we live our lives. On that note, I would like to thank you, Yemi Adamolekun, for being part of this show. I hope I get to see you next week. I'll be back. And then, Mr. Ologun, thank you very much. I'm Professor David Aworawo. Thank you very much indeed. You've been watching This Day Live, the Sunday talk show here on Arise News. I'm Ruben Abati. I'm from our entire team here in Lagos. It's bye for now, and thank you very much for watching.